Tonight you may have noticed the artifacts on display around the building. These artifacts have come from various places around the state and country to be displayed tonight. But I'd like to draw your attention to a particular artifact here on the stage and tell you a story of this particular relic's journey. Pennsylvania, 1914. Workers from all walks of life begin their day mining ore in the hills and mountains of the Rust Belt. The steel mills throughout the region working tirelessly to refine this ore into the fuel of an industrial powerhouse of shipbuilding. Most of this steel is destined for the formidable shipbuilding facilities along the east coast of the United States. Some of it found its way to the Brooklyn Navy Yard and was set to work forming the battleship Arizona. The keel of the battleship number 39, hull number BB39, was laid on the morning of 16 March 1914, with Assistant Secretary of Navy Franklin Delano Roosevelt in attendance for what the New York Times declared would be the world's biggest and most powerful super dreadnought ever constructed. She was launched on 19 June 1915 and commissioned to the Navy on the 17th of October 1916, 3 days before the U.S. declared war on Germany. Arizona, however, would remain on the east coast of the U.S. until the fighting ended on 11 November 1918. A week later, the ship left the United States for the United Kingdom, arriving on 30 November 1918. After 2 weeks berthed at Portland Harbor in Dorset, Arizona sailed for France. On 13 December, Arizona joined 9 battleships and 28 destroyers escorting President Woodrow Wilson on the ocean liner George Washington into Brest for 1 day of Wilson's journey to the Paris Peace Conference. The 10 battleships departed France the next day, taking less than 2 weeks to cross the Atlantic, and arrived in New York on the 26th of December to parades and celebrations. Arizona sailed from New York for Hampton Roads in January of 1919 and continued south to Guantanamo Bay in February. The time in the Caribbean waters was mostly used in training for battles and fleet maneuvering. Although it included a Liberty visit in the port of Spain, she was redeployed to Smyrna, now Izmir, in Turkey, in response to tensions between Greece and Italy. Shortly after Arizona arrived, Greek ground forces arrived in transports and were offloaded in the port. The resultant chaos in the city caused many American citizens in the area to seek shelter on board Arizona. When the crisis abated, Arizona was ordered to Constantinople, now Istanbul, before she sailed for home on the 15th of June. She put into New York Navy Yard on 30 June for an overhaul. Arizona was sent south to transit the Panama Canal in January of 1921. After meeting up with the Pacific Fleet, Arizona continued on to Peru for a visit before she began operating out of her new home port of San Pedro, California, part of Los Angeles, where she was based until 1940. On 19 March 1931, Arizona hosted President Herbert Hoover for a brief vacation in the Caribbean. The president visited Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Returning in March, Arizona conducted overhauls in Rockland, Maine, and at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington. At its conclusion, the United States Pacific Fleet, along with the Arizona, was retained in Hawaiian waters, based out of Pearl Harbor, to deter the Japanese. Shortly before 0800 local time, on 7 December 1941, Japanese aircraft from 6 aircraft carriers struck the Pacific Fleet as it lay in port at Pearl Harbor and wreaked devastation on the warships and installations defending Hawaii. A bomb hit at 0806 in the vicinity of Turret 2, likely penetrating the armored deck near the magazines located in the forward section of the ship. About 7 seconds after the hit, the forward magazine detonated in a cataclysmic explosion, venting through the sides of the ship and destroying much of the interior structure of the forward part of the ship. This caused the forward turrets and conning tower to collapse downward and the foremast and funnel to collapse forward, effectively tearing the ship in two. The explosion touched off fierce fires that burned for 2 days. Debris showered down on Ford Island in the vicinity. Arizona was lost, 1,177 souls sharing her fate. Arizona was placed in ordinary, declared to be temporarily out of service, at Pearl Harbor on 29 December, and was stricken from the Naval Vessel Registry on 1 December 1942. She was so badly damaged that it was not thought fit for service, even if she could be salvaged, unlike many of the other sunken ships nearby. Her surviving superstructure was scrapped in 1942 and placed in a laydown area near Pearl Harbor, where it remains to this day. In December 2016, at the 75th anniversary ceremony, Ken Potts, a Pearl Harbor survivor and Arizona sailor, participated in a small ceremony at the locations of the remains of the superstructure. There, he was presented with a small piece of steel from the ship. The bullet-riddled steel made its way to Utah, where it remained on display in the Potts home until after his passing in April 2023. In October 2023, Miss Doris Potts, wife of Ken, donated the steel to the Arizona Legacy Foundation with direction to bring new life into this steel and give the legacy new meaning. The steel was sent to a shop in Colorado Springs where grains of steel were painstakingly removed from the inboard side, enough to cast a new object. Enough grains had been collected. 1,177 or so of these grains were cast into a shell of bronze. A new insignia was created, a Command at Sea insignia. Captain Deegan, request you join me on the stage with Barbara and Nikki, front and center. There's a piece of tape right there, sir. Certificate of presentation to all those who shall see these presents. Greetings. Greetings. Know ye that in special recognition of the history of the great ship of USS Arizona, and in further recognition of the degree of power, authority, and responsibility duty as commanding officer of a U.S. Navy vessel requires, we, the U.S. Arizona Legacy Foundation, present you with this Command at Sea pin cast from the USS Arizona BB-39 steel. As you wear this pin, let it be a reminder to you of the incredible sacrifices made by the crew of BB-39 and the legacy for which you are now a part of and carry with you. You are hereby authorized to wear this pin until such time as you are relieved of your duties, at which time you will turn it over to your relief. Given on this 26th day of February in the year of our Lord 2024, signed Nikki Stratton, ship sponsor, and Barbara Barrett, chair, USS Arizona Legacy Foundation. You can never practice this enough.